Hi, it's Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at the Thermaltake Tower 600. This is a mid-size case, although sometimes when you look at it you wouldn't think so. But this is kind of like a mid-tower case. It isn't as big as the Tower 900 and it's a little bit bigger than some of the other tower range that we've seen previously. This is designed for ATX motherboards and for doing some pretty spectacular builds. We've got options to have up to a 420mm AIA radiator over on this side, and on the other side up to a 360mm radiator. Also, this will hold up to 13 120mm fans, or potentially around about 940mm fans, depending on your configuration and setup. This thing is optimized for cooling, and it's also optimized for filtration. There are filters basically everywhere. So we're going to do a teardown of this case today, take a look at it, go through some of the pros and cons. This is in the inverted type format, or what Thermaltake call the CTE form factor, or centralized thermal efficiency. So as you can see, the motherboard which is in there at the moment is rotated 90 degrees. Now for some people, I know this is going to be a definite no-go, but for those of you that don't mind having a little bit of rotation on your motherboard, stay tuned and we'll take a closer look. Okay, so some general housekeeping to start off with. This has been sent to us free of charge for review purposes from Thermaltake UK. It will be being returned after our stint with it, and we'll be going around doing the rounds with other reviewers. So just wanted to make you aware of that. So no money has changed hands. They haven't asked me to say anything, just sent the case and said, Mike, do what you do. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Also as well, the dimensions of this, if you're wondering, so you're looking at 22 inches high, 17 inches wide, and 11 inches deep. So depending on what desk space you've got, potentially this may be absolutely fantastic, and certainly as a display piece in maybe a business or even in your bedroom, wherever it's going to be, it's going to look absolutely fantastic, although you are going to need some pretty sizable components to fill it out. You can get a GPU in here of up to 400mm in length if you remove one of the trays at the bottom here, which is like a shroud, or if you leave it in place as it is at the moment with that mesh showing, graphics cards up to 280mm in length. Also, when it comes to graphics cards, you can mount them in two directions. You can mount them in the traditional kind of horizontal, although in this instance it will be vertical because it's rotated. But anyway, in the normal installation, you can put a graphics card in here, no problems at all. If you want to do a inverted graphics card, or just basically on the side, so you can see all the fans down this side section, then there is actually a kit included which will allow you to rotate the GPU around. You will need to source a PCI Express expansion card, or those kind of floppy cables, which will convert your slot to the other direction. So that isn't included. So if you do want to do that, that is going to be an additional expense, of which Thermaltake do actually do those PCI Express extensions. So if you want to get one of those, I'll put some links for that in the video description as well. But I think depending on your setup, I think it's going to look quite nice regardless, whichever way you do it. And also, if you have the graphics card in the kind of more traditional way, so kind of hanging down slot-wise there, it's going to give you a little bit more options for cooling on that side panel. Also included in the kit, there's actually some pretty cool stuff included, which, considering the price of this, and actually I haven't mentioned the price yet, as of the time of recording, so this is mid-November 2024, this case is actually under £150, which I thought is actually quite staggering. Considering the prices of cases on the market at the moment, even the kind of sort of mid-range or more entry-level models around about the £80 to £100 mark, things are getting really crazy in terms of case prices. So I'm actually really surprised to see this come in at under £150, considering all of the removable panels you get in here, and you get two included CT140 fans installed in the top. So I think it's actually really good value for money, considering the complexity and just the sheer amount of components that are included. Talking of which, so this is a USB 3 extension. So on some motherboards, depending how you got it set up, you may find that your connection's like on a right angle, and it just sometimes just looks a little bit naff because those USB connectors are pretty big. This allows you to plug in to the header on the motherboard with this slimline cable and kind of tuck it around the back, so it just looks a lot neater. And actually, potentially you might want to use that because there are actually 4 USB 3.0 ports on the front of the case. So you can actually connect up 2, which is a shame really they haven't included 2 of these. But normally on most motherboards, if they've got 2 USB 3.0 headers, normally one is facing kind of outwards and the other one is facing like towards you, if that makes any sense. But anyway, hopefully you get the idea. Of course you can, if you want to, you can pick up those as well from Thermaltake or just from eBay, Amazon, etc. Quite easy to get hold of should you need one. Obviously you get your instruction manual guide telling you how to take it all apart, but don't worry, we'll show you all of that as we go through. And also you get a pretty substantial accessories bag. So this has got GPU supports, GPU vertical mount sections, you get PCI Express blanking plates, you also get all the screws, you get some Thermaltake Velcro wrap on there as well for tidying up the build. You also get some of the plastic clips just in case any of them break when you're removing things, which is cool. And also there is a replacement front panel. So this front panel here, which is actually filtered, you do have the option to remove this and replace it with this one. And then you can install the Thermaltake LCD panel kit, which is quite expensive. I'm not going to beat around the bush, not far off the price of the case. Around about sort of £80 for the LCD kit, which I think is a little bit much, but if you like it and you want to go down that route, then yeah, it's pretty cool. And actually, I haven't got it in the PC behind me, I got it on my PC over there. It is actually quite useful. I do use it a lot for just looking up and monitoring temperatures, so it is quite cool. And also you can put GIFs of cats or rockets or whatever you want on there, so yeah, it is pretty cool. So very nice accessory kit, very nice presentation. And in fact, the actual retail packaging for this nice colourful box, everything on there that you need to know, all the dimensions, etc. Again, if you want to know any of that, then it'll be in the video description below. But also as well, actually very well packed. It comes in some really nice styrofoam, and all of the boxes kind of, it's marked up on the side. So Tower 600 left side, Tower 600 right side. It's just very easy to take out of the box and put back in. So if you're thinking of building a PC in this case and then potentially shipping it, it's going to be absolutely fine. Shipping is going to be no problems at all. It's a very, very sturdy container. It's unlikely to get damaged at all. Obviously, depending on what components you put in there, that might change things. But in terms of just shipping, if you manage to get one of these damaged in the post, I would be amazed because the packaging is excellent. Right, I think that's enough gushing about the packaging. Let's take a look at the case in more depth. So we'll just do a tour of the case, tear it all down. I'll give you some of my opinions going along the way, some of the things which I think may be able to be improved. Some things I like, some things I don't, all that kind of usual stuff. So we'll start off with the front panel, which I very much like. And this is also kind of going into Thermaltake's more hexagonal look. So previous tower cases, such as the Tower 100 and 200, very much square, flat panels. Whereas with this now, with this kind of hexagonal sidings, it just makes it look a little bit smaller, quite a nice look to it, I think. It doesn't look quite as bulky when on the desk, more refined. So yeah, it's a very small change really, but it makes a massive difference in terms of the overall aesthetics, I think personally. Also as well, before we go too much further, there is also a mounting kit, so you can get a separate stand for this. So you can actually have it so it's rotated 90 degrees, so you can have it like a, well, like a flat display. It'll take up a lot of room on your desk, obviously, because it's quite a big thing, but if you do want to have it leant down, you can do. You don't get it included as standard, so that is an optional cost. And also, something else I should mention, if you're looking at this thinking, well, it's kind of nice, I like it in white, it's all right, but not really my jam, you can get it in a variety of colors, which are always expanding as well. So potentially, depending when you're watching this video, you may find it's actually available in more colors. So at the time of recording, so middle of November 2024, there are options such as black. You've got gravel sand, which is actually really nice, and hopefully I'll put some B-roll in this so you can see what they look like. There's also the classic hydrangea blue to celebrate Thermaltake's 25-year anniversary. You've also got the matcha green, so if you're into your pale greens, that's great. There's also the racing green, which I'm not really a big fan of, but for you it might fit in perfectly. And of course there is this one we've got here, which is the snow version, or white as it's otherwise known. Wow, we're so far into this really and I haven't touched it. Let's get stuck in. So glass panels, 3mm tempered glass. On the white version, clear. On some of the other versions, it'll be clear as well. On the black one, it'll be slightly tinted. So do try and pay close attention on the website. If you're looking at ordering one of these, just look at the glass if that is of a concern of you. Generally, it's going to be absolutely fine. Taking the panels off, very easy. It's essentially almost all of it is toolless, other than the thumb screws, which sometimes might be a little bit tight, in which case you might have to loosen them off slightly with a screwdriver. But other than that, most of it is actually toolless. So let's start off with the front panel. So press in the middle, and there are toggle clips, and luckily, unlike some other brands, the glass panel doesn't want to fall out onto the floor, so that's nice. So even if it's accidentally pushed, it isn't just going to fall off onto your desktop, which could be catastrophic. So you can take that out, just lifts off. There's a little lip on the bottom, so that's held in nicely. Again, that is clear glass. So this gives you a little bit more access to the insides. Removing the other bits if you actually need to. To be honest with you, you probably won't for the majority of people, but if you ever do, it's very simple. Toolless, again, just pull them off, little pogo pins, top and bottom, which keep that all in place. And again, same for the other side. So again, just pulls off, very easy to do. Nice and simple, we like that a lot. Same is for actually most of the panels on here. So even this one on the bottom, so if you do want to pull it out, there is a little lip on the bottom, so you can grab that. And again, anything which has got this kind of mesh will be filtered as well. So there's a separate filter which is removable on there. So if you want to take that and clean it, you can do, or of course replace that with the LCD panel kit if you want to do that. So that's pretty cool. So air intake is, if you think of it in terms of, this is going to be a kind of top to bottom. So in the top, you've got the two CT140 fans pre-installed. Those are not RGB ones, just plain ones, but you're not going to see them anyway, so it makes no difference really. So you've got those two. So they are in the exhaust configuration. So negative at the start. Obviously, when you're adding more fans, you put them on the sides, on the bottom. It's all going to be pulling in and then being exhausted at the top. And obviously, being that heat naturally rises, having the exhaust at the top and having a big exhaust section is going to be beneficial. So moving on to other parts. So we'll look at the I/O actually before we take a look at the motherboard and all that setup. So in terms of the I/O, you've got a USB Type-C port, then you've got your headset and mic jacks separate, which is nice. You then got a reset button. Next to that, you've got two LEDs, one for power, one for hard drive activity. Then in the center, you've got your nice clicky power button. And next to that, something which you very, very rarely see on cases these days, 4 USB 3.0 ports. Now, they probably could have got away with doing maybe 2 USB 3s, 2 USB 2s, just to give you a bit of flexibility. Maybe you don't necessarily need USB 3 for, I don't know, a receiver for your keyboard and mouse possibly, but it is there if you want it. So you've got those really nice fast ports and that's all pre-wired in, so that is excellent. Removing that top panel again, same sort of deal, so just grab it and push it off or peel it off. And on the top, same deal, so you've got all this nice mesh on there, and also you've got a removable filter. But yeah, nice mesh filter. Obviously if you want to for more airflow, you can always remove that entirely, but that will also stop dust settling in it as well, which is pretty handy. So nice bit of filtration there. And it starts to open up now. So at the top, you've got the two CT140 fans, as we've already said. There are two thumb screws on the top. So you can undo the two thumb screws and then you can remove the fans in the bracket, and then you can gain access to where would normally be your motherboard I/O. So I'll show you some clips now of the motherboard I/O from the other side. So you can see your motherboard here. Here is the kind of I/O section. So the I/O goes out of the top. And obviously for your graphics card, that'll slot in there. So you'll plug in your graphics card connections, HDMI, DisplayPort, etc. from in the top section there and route it out the back of the case, which I know is a little bit unusual because we're so used to cases being the traditional kind of beige blocks. So front, back, cables in the back, yeah, you know what you're doing. So this does require a little bit of extra thought and potentially slightly longer cables or maybe even some extension cables. Not the end of the world, but certainly obviously because the I/O is going to be towards the top here, rather than on most cases it's going to be kind of somewhere towards the bottom here, it's taking up about an extra foot of room. So if you've got slightly shorter cables, maybe think about investing in some extensions, possibly before you start your build rather than after, and get it all done and set up and then thinking, oh, damn, I can't connect up something. Anyway, that's a very minor thing. So going back to the motherboard, so obviously 90-degree rotation, absolutely huge pass-throughs and all that kind of stuff. So for wiring up, so you've got big ones at the bottom there. So for your EPS connector on the side here, or perhaps up here. Also for connecting your 24-pin main power connector, very easy to do from there. Also, if you want to hide some of that wiring, you can install a 140 or 120mm fan on this top plate here. This plate here is removable, so 2 screws in the front, 2 screws in the back. That section comes out, giving you the full length of the case and the basement for graphics cards up to 400mm in length, as we said already. And again, depending on which way round you have it, whether you have it slotted in like that or whether you have it flat like that, that is going to be fine either way. Although, obviously, if you have your graphics card flat like that, it is going to encroach on what you can put into this side panel. You'll probably still be fine with a couple of fans in there, but if you're thinking about maybe custom loop, extra radiator, then you might kind of get into some issues with that. Like I said, so on this side, again, this is removable as well, easily, just pull it off and the side panels come off. Again, more filtration on there as you'd expect. All of these grills will come out, so a couple of screws, you can take out the bracket in its entirety, put your fans in, put your radiator in, then put it all back in one unit if you want to. Alternatively, just leave it in place, put your stuff in there. it's very easy to work in. There's lots of room to work in here, which is excellent. And also it gives you a lot of options for actually getting wires into the right places, because it is very open indeed. So 140s on this side, 3 140s or 3 120s, or combinations thereof. On this side, you've got the option for 2 140s or 3 120s. 360mm radiator, 420mm radiator. So yeah, pretty straightforward. In the top section where you've got the 2 pre-installed CT140 fans, obviously 2 140mm fans, or if you take those out, you can actually replace those with 3 120s. So if you want a little bit more extra horsepower there for your exhaust section, then you can put 3 120s in instead of the included 2 140s. If that wasn't enough fans, then you can also put one in the bottom here. So this section here, which would be technically underneath your graphics card. So if you wanted to put either a 120 or 140 in this bottom section, you can do. Again, fully filtered as well. So that is going to push air straight up into the path of your graphics card if this on the side isn't enough. So airflow is going to be absolutely insane in this if you kit it out with all the fans, but you don't necessarily have to. The choice is obviously going to be down to the individual. So I think that is pretty much it for this side. Let's turn it around a little bit more and take a look on this other side. So this will give you a better idea of what's going on in that basement section. So again, this panel, you kind of push out from the inside or from the top. Magnets in the top, hold it in place, little ledge on the bottom. Again, removable mesh filter on there, nylon filter. So that is excellent. So again, you can see now basically all the way through. So if you wanted to, if you don't want to do like bottom to top cooling, you could do side to side cooling and just have complete airflow going through, washing the case across. Up to you, however you do it. So 3 120mm fans, again, this bracket comes out, so 2 screws there, you can take that bracket out, connect up your fans, etc, etc. Also, you've got a load of pass-throughs on the side, which you can't really see with my fingers in the way, but you've got a load of pass-throughs down there for connecting up your graphics cards and your I/O connections, or just running your fan wires through. So they've thought it all through. There's loads of options for wiring and cable management and stuff. They've done a really good job on this, they really have. Now we'll take a look at the back. So the back is, again, it's really well thought out. So you've obviously got a mesh filter there, so you can put more fans in here. So 2 140s or 2 120s. The choice is entirely up to you. If you want to have some exhausting at the back here, I honestly don't know why you'd want them, but if you do, then it certainly is an option. Bottom section here, ATX power supply. Power supplies up to basically infinity length. You've got so much room down there, you can basically do whatever you want to. But any of Thermaltake's existing range, such as the Smart BM range, or the GF range, or the GF A3 range, all will fit in here with no problems at all. Removing this panel, again, same sort of deal. So just grab the top or the bottom, whichever is easier for you. Probably easier to do it from the top, and pull that out, and again, you get the general idea. So lots of airflow, hexagonal mesh in most places, which is always really good for airflow, and that is replicated here. So inside here, obviously, that is where you're going to put your power supply. Here is for drive storage. So you can put 2.5 inch drives on this sled, or you can put a 3.5, possibly another 2.5 on top. And also at the bottom here, there's another mount there for a 2.5 inch drive. So 3 2.5 inch drives, or 1 3.5 inch drive on here, and possibly another one on here, 2.5. And maybe you could squeeze the 2.5 in there, possibly not. Might be a little bit on the large side, but yeah, you might just get 2 on there. So 3.5, 2.5, 2.5, if that makes sense. Obviously, top here, pass through. So that is going to be for your motherboard I/O, things like your graphics card connections, all that kind of stuff. So they're going to come out through the back here, and then out through the top. So another holes there. So you can run those out through the top, and then obviously to your monitor, keyboard, mouse, etc, etc. Like loads of pass-throughs. This does support the Back to the Future or Project Zero, or I can't think what Gigabytes one is, but they do support that, which is a shame actually, because Thermaltake have been really kind of pushing the whole back design motherboard, so connecting to the back. But it does seem from at least, well, all the manufacturers, no one seems to be making back to front motherboards. They had that initial release from Asus with the Z790s, a couple of others, and MSI did the Project Zero board for AMD on a B650 micro ATX for some reason, rather than doing an ATX. But it seems that that standard, well, it appears to be abandoned. So what's going to happen there, I don't know. But it seems a lot more case manufacturers are getting on board now and having these cutouts. But now the motherboard vendors seem to have kind of just ignored it, which seems a bit of a shame. I kind of like it, but anyway, we'll see what happens there as the future goes on. Other nice things here. So for cable management can be really easy in this. So down this side section, got these plastic clips. There's 3 of those, and there is also the same on the other side as well. If I can rotate that around a little bit, you can hopefully see those down there. So 1, 2, and 3. So you can tuck all your cables behind there, which is actually quite nice because it means you don't have to start cable tying everything down. Because you know what it's like, you do a build, you cable tie the bejesus out of it, and then you think, oh, actually, I want to move something. Then you're out with the snips, cutting the cables, and yeah, it's a mess. Whereas these, just put your cables behind them, and it's very easy to manage indeed. Also, if that isn't enough, then there's also loads of punch outs and things. So if you want to make a really neat job of it, it's very, very easy to do so. When it comes to the front panel connectivity, as we've seen already, so you've got an HD audio plug, you've got your USB Type-C, you've got 2 of your USB 3.0 ports, and also you've got a single block connector for your front panel connection, which is kind of nice. I like that, especially in this instance, because you do have basically the full complement. So you've got power button, reset switch, hard drive LED, and power LED. So all 4 of the main connectors. So it does make sense to have a all-in-one block there. So that is a very nice touch. Something else which is a very nice touch is the fact that if you do get all this put together and you're still thinking, oh, actually, I want to kind of move some of those wires, but they're kind of tucked in around here. Well, don't worry, because they've thought of everything, and these will actually push out. Magnet on the top, slot on the bottom. So now you've got access to cables in there. So if you want to maybe push something else through, or you can't quite get your connector for your HD audio in, you can remove that panel to get easier access to it, which is, it's just a really nice, thoughtful thing. It's probably costs money to obviously make these things and put a magnet in and manufacture it and all that. So the fact that they've done all of this for 150 quid is absolutely astonishing. And you've got exactly the same on the other side as well. So maybe your fans for your radiators, etc. So again, magnet on the top, and those are interchangeable. So yeah, very handy to get access to your cabling, should you ever need to. So yeah, and for builders, I think this is absolutely a builder's dream. It really is. So let's take a look now at the top section. So top section, I've already undone the screw. So the fans, which are here, and this section here, you can take out in its entirety. You can put 120s in here, so 3 120s, or the 2 included CT140s. I'm getting tired of saying that now. And hopefully now you can see also where the I/O is. So see, motherboard I/O is there. Your graphics card is going to be kind of upright in here. And you can see some of the brackets there. All very nice and sturdy, actually. Sometimes you get these type of things and there's a bit flimsy and you think, oh God, that's going to fall apart. But this is actually super rock solid. So that is a very good shout. Again, this is where you're going to be passing your cables through to get your I/O to your peripherals, etc. Just this, one of those things, kind of getting your head around how that works logistically. For me, it still is a little bit jarring, but when it's done, and it's done well, like it is here, yeah, it is a joy to behold. And last of all, let's take a look at the bottom. So on the bottom, full-size filter, or basically as big as it could possibly be. Got these really nice chunky feet, which elevates it off the desk by about 1 inch. So nice bit of airflow coming in the bottom. And this cover is removable. So again, more of that nylon mesh. And after the nylon mesh, we've got all of this hexagonal. Again, really good for airflow, very, very open indeed. So if you want to put a fan in there, sorry, the fan will go in that side. So 120 or 140 in that side as an intake towards your graphics card possibly. And this is going to be where your power supply is going to be. So lots of clean, fresh air coming into your power supply. Okay, so it's time to put this thing back together. And I'm going to say the only thing which I feel is a slight negative of this design is the filter in the top, which is actually a little bit on the fiddly side. Getting those lugs to go back in, sometimes first time, is a little bit of an annoying thing. I guess it's down to the shape. Yeah, this is, maybe I shouldn't do it one-handed, but you've got to kind of get it on the perfect angle. There we go. And then that snaps into place. So the top filter, if I was going to be nitpicky and say anything negative about this case, the top filter I think is a little bit fiddly to do. But I think that is an extremely minor thing to do, bearing in mind that what this case actually does and how easy it is to kind of put everything back together. All just snaps into place, which is excellent. And it's like, oh, I've grabbed the glass panel. Is it the right one? It doesn't matter because they go on both sides exactly the same. So it's pretty easy to do. And the glass, you can flex it a little bit, it's absolutely fine. The filters on the side, again, these aren't handed, so whichever side you're on, it's just going to fit. And getting your glass to go back in on the front is child's play itself. It really is. So there you go. There is a look and a teardown of the Tower 600 case in snow. Again, for £150, I'm not entirely sure how they've managed to do it. Especially when you take into consideration they've actually got, I think it's 6 colours available at the moment, or they will have 6 colours available by the time you see this video. So the manufacturing costs of doing all of that and painting it all different colours, like if you just do one case, one colour in black, it's obviously cheaper to produce because you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, but they've got to run this through 6 different processes to get the various colours, which is, again, is incredible. And I should mention again, the motherboard that is in here is not included with the case. I know there's going to be somebody in the questions who says, does the motherboard come with it? No, it doesn't. You do need to purchase all of the items to go inside of here, such as your motherboard, your processor, your graphics card, your RAM, your storage, etc, etc. Now actually, if you're in the US, you can actually buy pre-built Thermaltake PCs from Thermaltake themselves, and there are some manufacturers in the UK which are starting to do Thermaltake ones here as well, so potentially that might not be a thing much longer. You might be able to just buy it straight off the shelf, which would be absolutely awesome. But if you're looking at building a PC and you're looking at doing something very stylish and somewhat unique, and you don't mind the inverted layout and you like a little bit of a challenge in that regard, muscle memory kicks in straight away. You're like, oh, I've done this 1,000 times, where did the connectors go? But it is very rewarding when it's all done well, and obviously it's going to keep pretty much anything cool. RTX 4090 fits in there, no problems at all, very easy to keep it cool. Even the hottest of processors like 13900K, 14900K, very, very easy to cool. And in fact, on Thermaltake's site, you can see they've already done all the testing on that kind of stuff. So thermally, yeah, you've got no problems here whatsoever. It's an absolute beast of a machine when it comes to cooling. So overall, I think I can quite happily say very impressed with this case. I actually do like it a lot. It's just unfortunate for me here that I've got nowhere I could actually physically put one, but I really would like to at some point, but that would involve much work going on behind here, which I don't plan on doing at the moment. Anyway, I think it's great. Maybe you do too. If you do like it, let us know in that comment section. Also, if you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe and the chime notification. I think that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.